Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here this evening to celebrate the naming of the Katie Hedgebeck Children's Cancer Research Fund Clinic. My name is Jay Higgins, and it's a great honor and privilege to be here as part of the Hedgebeck family. I'm Katie's cousin and the nephew of Norm and Diana Hedgebeck. So let's start while we're all here this evening because of a 13-year-old named Katie Hedgebeck. 40 years ago, my cousin Katie was fighting leukemia. Katie is remembered by her siblings and cousins as a sweet, kind, caring, and even silly girl who was extraordinarily brave and courageous in her incredible fight against cancer. She had been saving up to buy a bicycle, but decided to give the $100 that she had socked away into a little-known fund at the University of Minnesota, the Children's Cancer Research Fund. Katie and the Hedgebeck family laid the foundation for the Children's Cancer Research Fund that we know and love today, and they are the reason we're here celebrating the naming of Katie's clinic tonight. 40 years ago, the 5-year survival rate for childhood cancer was less than 60%. Today, because of the generosity of the people in this room, the survival rate is over 80%. Yes, that means there are so many kids alive today because of Katie's selflessness and your commitment to the cause. So let's give another big round of applause for this incredible progress. Tonight, we'll hear from Dr. Dean Toller of the University of Minnesota Medical School. He'll tell us a little bit more about Katie's clinic, which provides world-class care to over 10,000 kids each year. We will also hear from Norm Hedgebeck, Katie's father, who has a special story to tell about Katie and the bike that started it all. But for now, I'll turn it over to CCRF's Director of Development, Kenna Dooley.
Thank you, Jay. I consider it a true privilege to work for Children's Cancer Research Fund, and an honor and a joy to get to know your family, Jay, Katie's family, and to witness how the CCRF circle continues to grow. I've been here for 2 years at CCRF, and I remember it still has stuck with me. One of my first impressions of this organization was that it strikes this really remarkable balance between being an organization that's tight-knit with the kind of hospitality and relationships that you find in a small town like the one that I grew up in. But at the same time, it's an organization that is making a national impact on a global disease. What started with Katie's $100 bike savings has now grown to $240 million raised for cancer research and programs over 40 years. We now have donors in all 50 states and even 13 countries, and we fund the best, most promising childhood cancer research and family programs across the United States. Wow. And when I say CCRF is doing these things, I mean you. You are CCRF, and these are your accomplishments. I'd like to take a moment to look around the room at the faces of people who have helped make CCRF what it is today. I hope feelings of great pride and accomplishment are bubbling up for all of you. I want to highlight just a few of the seeds that you all planted over the past 4 decades, seeds that have grown into thriving programs at CCRF today. So there are individuals in this room who 20 years ago recognized an opportunity to start a direct mail program at CCRF. Fast forward to today, our direct mail program helps us communicate with more than 60,000 supporters and raises over $2.5 million each year for research and programs. This would not have happened without you. And the Wings Society, our plan giving donors, a program also started by a former CCRF board member. The Wings Society is now 106 members strong, and because of your foresight, you can tell who I'm looking at, CCRF has received $4.7 million through estate gifts and has put those funds to work advancing research. This could not have happened without you. CCRF's first website was created with the help of a former board member, and through that website, an Australian company connected with CCRF in 2014. Subsequently, a partnership was formed called the Great Cycle Challenge USA, which in the 7 years since has raised over $50 million for childhood cancer research. This would not have happened without you. I also think of the extraordinarily generous funding of endowed chairs that enable the brightest minds in pediatric cancer research to pursue bold ideas in their fields. The Hedberg Family Chair, the Suzanne Holmes Hodder Chair, the Katie Family Chair, the Hedgebeck and Lehman Family Chairs. These chairs have provided millions of dollars to support the brilliant minds who teach and work to answer the questions of childhood cancer. This would not happen without you. And of course, Dawn of a Dream. I've heard stories of its humble beginnings, committee members hand addressing and stuffing invitations at their dining room tables, and co-chairs dancing the night away with big names like Clint Black and Kenny Loggins. That legacy is now carried forward by the next generation. Some of you in this room tonight, through the Dream Gala with a cohort of new community leaders committed to ending childhood cancer. We could not do this work without you. We are grateful to be here this evening, celebrating the establishment of the Katie Hedgebeck Children's Cancer Research Fund Clinic, made possible by the incredible dedication and generous funding of research at the University of Minnesota. And this is your accomplishment. Norm and Diana, you consistently say that this was never about Katie and that it's not at all about you. But we cannot begin to celebrate where we are today and the impact that's been made on childhood cancer over 40 years without reminding ourselves of Katie's wish and the movement that she started. The wish that has since been carried forward by everyone in this room, each of you in your own unique ways and very personal ways. As you can see on the screen, we've been scrolling, there are several members of this community who've made generous gifts to support research and coordination of care at Katie's Clinic through the Dream Further campaign. Many of these donors have named a space within Katie's Clinic to remember and honor their loved ones, or even the esteemed researchers who've provided hope to so many over the decades. We'll hear more about the Dream Further campaign later this evening, but for now, I'd like to introduce Jacob Tolar, Dean of the University of Minnesota Medical School, who will join us virtually tonight. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. We are here to celebrate the opening of the Katie Hedgebeck Children's Research Cancer Fund Clinic. I think that something very special happens when parents who truly understand how terrible the impact of childhood cancer is set out to make sure that other children and other parents don't have to experience and go through what they have gone themselves. As an oncologist and a transplanter, I do know that some families turn inwards, some families turn outwards. Nobody's the same after such an experience. And Diana and Norm have turned outwards. It's such an empathetic act. It's such a profound way to remember Katie and the beauty she brought to the world forever by helping other children. Norma and Diana took their daughter's request to donate the money she saved to help others with cancer and began a relationship that fundamentally transformed the pediatric cancer work, not just here at the University of Minnesota, but everywhere. And they put together the Children's Cancer Research Fund. It's important to put it in the frame of reference of where the medical research has been in 1981. It still was limited, very limited, in fact, in pediatric oncology. There was no Masonic Cancer Center. There were few NIH grants of the magnitude that we need. There were certainly no Health Fairview Masonic Children's Hospital, and children have experienced with their cancers about 60% 5-year survival rate. And Norma and Diana, they understood from the first the importance of providing sparks of support to the great clinical research and researchers who were then around here, being this John Kersey, Norma Ramsey, Mark Nesbitt, and they created a circle of safety, a circle of support, the permissive hierarchy and architecture for others to enter the field and think deeply, meaningfully about pediatric cancer. And in that way, Dr. Kersey went on to found the Masonic Cancer Center. Dr. Ramsey became a prolific clinical researcher, and Dr. Nesbitt transformed, in my opinion, the thinking about not just pediatric cancer, but cancer and clinical research in general by understanding that the clinical trials cannot be center specific because there would be not enough patients to enroll to actually find the answers that we seek, but they have to be national to have the sufficient numbers to provide significant data and create the change that we seek in clinical practice. Norma and Diana understood how important it was to recruit and nurture the next generation of clinical researchers. So they sponsored also the fellowships in pediatric oncology and seed project for early stage researchers. And I can speak from personal experience because I have been a beneficiary of both of these kinds of support, and the impact of that initial jolt of support is disproportionate to everything that comes after that. Norma and Diana understood how important it was to advocate for patients and for their families, to guide research to developing better cures, better therapies, better support, and create an environment where many different approaches and kinds of expertise were brought together to focus on one theme, childhood cancer. And having the team around that imaginary table and have the ideas recombined in the middle and create something that none of the members would have thought before about has been the strength of the CCRF all along. They set an example of compassion, commitment, and passion, the drive, the will to get better at treating childhood cancer. And now childhood cancers have about 80% 5-year survival rate. And while not all the advances, of course, have come from here, many of them did. My day job, the bone marrow transplant, has certainly been put on the map by the team at the University of Minnesota. The new ability to harness immune system to fight cancer has been pioneered here by Dr. Blazer, Dr. Miller, many others. And the long-term survivorship studies have been originated almost here under the leadership of Dr. Neglia and others from our team. So it is with profound gratitude that we renamed the Health Fairview Masonic Children's Hospital Journal Clinic in honor of Katie Hedgeback and the Children's Cancer Research Fund, forever thus recognizing the impact of the generosity of one young girl, Katie, and the steadfastness of her family, Diana, Norm, and the many other supporters who joined them in transforming the face of pediatric cancer research forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tolar, and thanks to all of you here tonight for being part of the community that is making Katie's Clinic possible. Next, we have the story of a childhood cancer survivor who has already spent plenty of time in what is now Katie's Clinic. Michelle Veit is mom to Brooklyn, a childhood leukemia survivor. Michelle knows all too well how much time families spend in this clinic and how important research advancements have been for her daughter. Please welcome Michelle Veit.
Thank you. Well, what an amazing celebration this is. I'm so happy to be here. I'm honored to be here with the Hedgebeck family and for you all to be recognized in the renaming of the Katie Hedgebeck Children's Cancer Research Fund Clinic at the U of M. I mean, round of applause for that. So I'm Michelle, but I'm better known in this crowd as Brooklyn's mom. Brooklyn is a cancer survivor. She was diagnosed with leukemia at 2.5 years old, the same cancer Katie was diagnosed with nearly 40 years earlier. This necklace I'm wearing is not high fashion. It's actually Brooklyn's. She borrowed it to me. She lent it to me tonight. But these are beads of courage. So children's hospitals around the nation give these beads to kids who endure cancer treatment. There's one bead for each thing that Brooklyn went through over the course of her 859 days of treatment. And I bring these here for that reason. So there's white beads that are given for chemo, yellow beads for nights in the hospital, red beads are for blood transfusions, star beads are for surgeries, there's lumbar punctures and physical therapy. I mean, it goes on and on. So she has earned thousands of these beads and strung them all herself, I think. So just a visual to show you like what kids that endure cancer treatment go through. And again, she's a survivor, so this was just to get to that point. So she earned those beads through a lot of hard work, a lot of patience, endurance. I mean, the whole family had to have endurance, trust in the amazing minds that created these therapies, and a whole lot of kind of painfully sick, tired days. But the majority of the treatment that Brooklyn received was at the U of M Masonic Children's Hospital in what will now be Katie's Clinic. And it is a safe and welcoming place where the most compassionate and brilliant people took care of Brooklyn's every need. The cancer treatment and what it did to our tiny toddler's body and spirit was really difficult to watch, but we always knew she was in the right place there. We spent hundreds of long, mentally and physically exhausting days at the clinic, sometimes with our newborn baby in tow. Doctors and nurses would filter in and out, often wearing layers of protective gear as they pumped toxic chemo through Brooklyn's tiny body. But the beauty of this particular clinic is that if you ask Brooklyn about her experience with childhood cancer there, she would tell you about the toy closet and which toys she would usually choose to play with, where you can find the crayons and the coloring pages. She would tell you about riding a bike through the halls while hooked up to her IV pole, and how many movies you can choose from, or singing and playing instruments with the music therapy team there. So Brooklyn was very young during treatment, and she didn't fully understand what she was going through, but the memories she shares with other people about cancer treatment are surprisingly very happy memories. And that's the beauty of Katie's Clinic. It's because of the warm, welcoming, amazing care that she received every single day that we went there. Katie's wish was to make treatments and cures possible for kids like her. Brooklyn's journey was incredibly long and difficult, but she made it through. She's a survivor. She's spirited, athletic, curious, focused, articulate, and artistic 8-year-old. She loves to swim and read and spend time with her friends and cousins. She's gone back and forth on deciding if she should be an artist or a scientist when she grows up, so she's well-rounded, we know that. She's becoming more and more independent. She went to Camp Norden with CCRF this summer, which was a big step for us all, but she formed friendships with other kids her age who really understand what it's like to be a kid with cancer. At her last checkup in what is now Katie's clinic, Brooklyn's doctor described her health as boring. Right? That's all I ever wanted. So Brooklyn is very smart. She was initially super offended by that term. But we explained that it meant that she doesn't show any major long-term side effects as a result of her therapy. And once she learned that, she was really happy to be boring for once. And the truth is, that's all as parents that we ever hoped for. We wanted a lucky kid that's just boring in the health world. The vast majority of cancer survivors do experience some long-term side effects of their treatment. Some things like mobility challenges show up right away, while others like infertility or subsequent cancers may not show up until decades after treatment is over. We've received packets of this information from her doctors already of what to look for and what they'll be looking for over the years. With the increasing rate of childhood cancer survivorship, it's becoming more and more important to keep track of survivors and monitor their health closely throughout the rest of their lives. Brooklyn's doctors are working specifically on that with the help of grants from CCRF. Throughout Brooklyn's cancer treatment, and even more so now that she's considered a survivor, I cannot help but thank those children and families that have come before us. There has been so much science and research and trust put into the continued effort to cure childhood cancers. Families like the Hedgebecks and all of you in this room have bravely forged a path to cure for those of us who came nearly 4 years after Katie. My heart is heavy for Katie and the many children like her, excuse me, who did not have the chance to be called survivors. But I will call them heroes. Katie and her family are heroes to moms like me and to our families. This is why I brought a Kleenex. Your amazing legacy that you've built over the years through hard work and dedication to this important cause has led to better cures for kids like Brooklyn, just as Katie had hoped. To Norm, Diana, and the rest of the Hedgebeck family, and to everyone here who has tirelessly and generously supported CCRF and more cures and long-term survival for childhood cancer, congratulations and thank you from the bottom of this mom's heart. Katie is surely smiling down on us all today as you keep her memory alive through the naming of the Katie Hedgebeck Children's Cancer Research Fund Clinic.
Fabulous. You really are so good.
That's what I mean, the best people.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It's so great to see Brooklyn doing so well. I know that's proof of what so many people here tonight hoped for when they started CCRF 40 years ago. And I have to say, when my daughters tell me that something is boring, I'm going to say, you know what? Sometimes boring is great. So, next, I want to recognize some of the community members who have been with CCRF from the very beginning. Please welcome Nancy Lindahl and Tony Cady.
More sheets. Surprise, girls. Ha ha. Yes. They didn't know we were going to be here. So this is called Two Proud Mamas. We are very old chairs from the 1990s. So back to sing again. Actually, we had a rock and roll in time back in the 90s, but we are here, heart, mind, body, and soul from the very, very beginning. So I want to thank you, Jay. You are the best announcer I've heard in years. And my gosh, Brooklyn's family, you've touched all of us. We know why we're here. I remember meeting you, and it's just amazing that you've stayed a part of the organization. So from the bottom of our hearts, we want to thank you. Jay, as you said earlier, this year is CCRF's 40th anniversary. Over those 40 years, there have been countless volunteers and supporters who have moved the mission forward and made a milestone like this possible. You're a good secretary.
I'm helping.
Yeah. We're really good
We're
friends.
really good.
So, included among those dedicated volunteers year after year are the annual co-chairs of the Dream, or Dawn of a Dream Gala. In a normal year, the co-chairs are responsible for countless responsibilities, ranging from recruiting and managing a committee of volunteers, securing high-value auction and raffle items, mobilizing their friends and family to fill the room with their passionate supporters, and driving the overall creative vision of the event. So I'd like to speak about two nameless women, we're not going to name them yet, who have actually been in this business for 2.5 years. Yes, it's Betsy's fault. It really is Betsy's fault. For 2.5 years, they did all of these things for an event that didn't happen. All set to go in 2020, 1 month out, a wonderful event at the Armory, 1,000 people, and it didn't happen. Things have looked very different, we know, over the past year. And I'll turn it over to my friend Tony, and I'll be her secretary.
Nothing more to say. We want to take this opportunity to thank our daughters, Jane Katie Pirtle and Megan Lindahl Goodrich. The co-chairs, who have dealt with so many changes over the past 2 years, not the least of which was the global pandemic. You helped shift from an in-person gala to a virtual event, if we all remember, in 2020 with the Dream Stream, and from an event to an even broader campaign in 2021 with Dream Further. And you've done a fantastic job every step of the way. Under your leadership, the Dream Further campaign has raised over $1.94 million of a $2 million goal for childhood cancer research. And although you may not have known what you were getting yourself into, thank you, Betsy, when you agreed to co-chair Dream on the eve of a pandemic, you've taken on the challenge with creativity and grace, and we're so proud of you and grateful to you for continuing this 40-year tradition in your own unique way. This will be one. This will be one for the record books, for sure. Let's all please join us in giving Jane and Megan a round of applause.
Now I want to introduce Children's Cancer Research Fund's President and CEO, Daniel Gunment. And he has something special planned, girls. You don't know everything, so there.
Or anything, right?
Thank you, Nancy and Tony. And thanks to all of you who've been Dawn of a Dream or Dream co-chairs in the past. I know there's many of you in the room. I'm so moved by the community of people here tonight and the passion that's been passed down to the new generation within the community. It's a beautiful thing to see. Megan and Jane, you stepped up to be leaders during a particularly uncertain time, and your dedication and expertise have been invaluable. You ensured that even though we couldn't gather in person as much as we wanted to over the past year and a half, everyone still felt connected to our mission. You thought up new ideas, brought new ideas to the table, and determined that our researchers wouldn't slow down on our account. And in 2021, that meant pivoting what was usually our signature gala to a year-long campaign called Dream Further, which, as Tony mentioned, has already raised more than $1.9 million. But what I don't think she mentioned was that officially marks a record-breaking dream. So, when you consider the obstacles that we were facing, that's even a more outstanding feat. So, you kept Katie's original dream moving forward with grace, poise, and dedication. So tonight, I'm pleased to recognize your work as co-chairs with this award, which we hope demonstrates your leadership and commitment in moving our mission forward. Thank you. Please come on up.
Okay. And I brought my own copy up in the event that the font wasn't big enough. And I might still need my readers, so pardon me, but it's really exciting to be here. We actually felt like yesterday we could tell Sarah Ober, we'll see you tomorrow, with confidence. I feel like I've always known about CCRF, although that can't be quite true because I'm a bit older than 40. That being said, I remember my mom addressing envelopes for Dawn of a Dream when I was young. I remember setting tables at the Minneapolis Convention Center for the gala when I was in my teens. And I recall the time when I was a care partner in college. And of course, there were always the friends we met through CCRF, friends who are here today, lifelong friends. When Betsy reached out to me 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, to ask if I wanted to co-chair Dream, I told her I would chat things over with Dan and get back to her. Although, let's be honest, I already knew that I would say yes before I even hung up. I wasn't going to say no to Betsy and the CCRF family, and I wasn't going to say no to fundraising money so that we could continue to make strides toward making the greatest impact for children fighting cancer. Of course, back then, I didn't realize that my yes would lead to reimagining the Dream 2020 Gala as a virtual event and reimagining Dream 2021, this time as the Dream Further campaign. So there have been a few hurdles, but all of you know the one huge thing that is happening regardless of the status of the pandemic: the naming of the Katie Hedgebeck Clinic at the University of Minnesota. This is thrilling. It is unprecedented to have a floor named after a child at this institution. It indeed is the impact of Katie's story, told by her parents, her siblings, her friends, the CCRF community, that brings us to this point. And it brings me so much joy to know that with these naming rights, Katie's story will continue to live on for generations to come.
Lindell's are tall.
Can you pair us up with the moms?
And I have heels on. I agree with everything that Megan put so beautifully. I also remember my parents being heavily involved with CCRF almost from the beginning. It's become part of my family's DNA, and I'm honored to be part of the next generation of leaders and supporters of this amazing organization. My dad's sister, Betsy Katie, passed away from leukemia in 1963. And carrying on this tradition in Katie's name feels like I'm carrying on Betsy's legacy alongside of Katie. I'm grateful for this opportunity to do that. When Betsy asked me to co-chair, it was an easy yes. I saw everything that she brought to Dream in 2019, and I couldn't wait to be part of it in 2020, and 2021, maybe 2022, I don't know. No. It was not easy to keep reevaluating how we'd keep up the Dream tradition these past 2 years. But I'm so grateful to have done it with Megan and the rest of the CCRF family. I'm so grateful for the support from all of you. I feel like you're the heart and soul of the organization in this room, and I'm just proud to be here. It's so incredible to see what a group of families who are dedicated to one another can do over 40 years. Right? I know that CCRF certainly wouldn't be the organization it is today without everyone in this room. One tradition that we have kept going since Katie passed away has been Dawn of a Dream, and now Dream and Dream Further, which a lot of you have attended year after year to raise funds for cancer treatments for kids. That event would not have been possible if not for the incredible co-chairs in the room tonight, and we would like to recognize them.
So many of these women answered the call without hesitation when we asked for their support with the Dream Further campaign by serving on the honorary committee. Jane and I were so moved by the many incredible women who have come before us and stepped up to support our own endeavors. If you've ever been a Dawn of a Dream or Dream co-chair, would you please stand? Hats off to all of you.
Simply amazing. Thank you guys so much for your commitment and your passion. And with that, Jay, you're back on. Don't want to lose the cue. So fun.
Thank you again, Megan and Jane, and sorry to jump the gun, but Uncle Norm, now's your time to shine. You got this. You got it.
Well, I think I'm ready. I'm not sure. Has anybody else come? Kenna, where are you? Oh, no. Okay. Well, it's hard to believe it's been 40 years. I just want to put some perspective to how long that is. Well, Jay, our MC, and my nephew, when I started this along with Diana, I was Jay's age. And Jay was 4 years old. A lot of things have changed. Well, I want to thank everybody for the kind words for Diana and I and Katie. It really means a lot having all you people out here that have been on the journey for these 40 years. I want to talk about Katie's bike. You've all heard the story about Katie's bike, and I got a couple of stories that's quite interesting and touching. When we found out that the university was naming the cancer clinic in Katie's name, they thought and everybody says, we got to have a bike. We got to have a bike. So we, thanks to Sean Pirtle, who was a very interested person in bicycles, he went out and found what he thought was a great bike, and I went over to his house one day to take a look at it, and here's this beautiful bright red bike. And it said this was the city of Hopkins, and it was good from 1979 to 1981. Well, 79 was the year that Katie died, and 81 was when CCRF started. So that's a nudge from God. There's another story that goes even further than this. When I went over to Sean's house to get the bicycle, I said, "How much is the bike?" And he says, $140. So I wrote him a check for $140. And about 2 or 3 weeks later, I was making an effort to clean my office and my file, which was overdue for maybe 39 years. And I went through, I saw a file that said Katie's file. So I went through there and various things about her. And one thing that I noticed, there was a savings book. And I thought I'd take a look in there to see how much money was in there. And after I had paid $140 to Sean for the book, I opened it up, and the last entry in there was in September of '79, and she died 2 months later, on December 11th of '79. And that last entry, the balance was $143. So it's rather emotional. I mean, I get choked up every time I tell the story. And I think what's happening is Katie is looking down on us and saying, a job well done. I'll be glad to have my name on here. In closing, I'd like to tell one quick story that my friend John Berg, who's here somewhere, said, "I'm really interested in CCRF," and he's been very generous. And he says, "What's the secret of longevity?" He says, "There's a lot of good charities out there that, come and go after 15, 20 years. Well, this was 10 or 12 years ago, so it was 30 years. So now it's 40 years. And he asked what the secret was, and I said, it's people like you who have supported us for years and years. And I just want to thank everybody in this room again for making it possible. And I want to end this by having all of you applaud yourselves for what you have done.
Oh, wow, 4 and 44. Well, Uncle Norm, thank you for the wonderful story, and thanks to you and Aunt Diana for gathering this amazing community. That concludes the program for the evening. Thanks again to all of you for being part of Katie's legacy and propelling us forward in the fight against childhood cancer. Now, before you go, a couple of quick notes. Make sure you receive a personal gift from my cousins, Betsy Hedgebeck-Schill and Sarah Hedgebeck-Moss, who want to thank you for supporting Katie's dream. Whenever we see birch trees, we think of Katie at our family cabin, and you will recall the picture of her from the invitation by the birch tree. It's just an image we all have of her in our mind, the iconic picture of Katie in the birch tree. So as you leave, each couple is to take a specially crafted birch token power sod from Betsy herself. Betsy, you still have all your fingers? So they're all there. So please take that on the way out. And then one other quick note that Betsy pointed out with the orange roses on the table when Katie was sick. They had a neighbor friend who every week would deliver an orange rose to the house, and then every year on the anniversary of her death would deliver the same orange rose. So take a moment to admire the lovely floral arrangements and the orange roses that you have in front of you. So thank you again so much, and have a great evening. Thank you.